All right, come around one. Here we go.
Get your mind right.
Cameras, headsets, please.
For something
15 seconds.
you ain't ever seen. You better get moving. Ready or not.
Stand by, Dr. Phil. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. Has the body positivity movement gone too far? Based on science, if you're overweight, you're at risk for diseases.
I disagree with you.
So you would reject the science.
People of a higher weight are more likely to survive heart attacks. So many doctors are middle-aged white men, and my body is different.
Thank you for calling me middle-aged. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Thank you very much. You know, for the past few years, people have been talking about body positivity, the acceptance of all bodies, regardless of size, shape, skin tone, gender, or physical abilities. Now, the main idea is that beauty is a social construct and should not determine a person's self-worth or value. Now, this belief has been promoted and populated on social media by many influencers and celebrities, including singer Lizzo, who said earlier this year, "I know I'm fat, it doesn't bother me, I like being fat, and I'm beautiful and I'm healthy, so can we move on?" But there are critics who say we can't move on because fat is not fit, and the body positivity movement contributes to the obesity crisis by dissuading people from improving their health. Now, let's start off with Lexi and her husband, Will, who support the body positive movement and say they accept and love themselves just the way they are.
I've struggled with my weight and my body image my entire life. Kids bullied me for my weight, but I always shrugged it off, thinking, oh, well, they're just like mean kids. When I was 10, my friend's mom told me, Lexi, with those blue eyes and that beautiful singing voice, if you just lost the weight, you could take over the world. So it was particularly soul-crushing to learn that adults were thinking negatively about my body also.
There we go.
My journey to accepting myself was gradual. I've really made peace with my body. I started creating content for Instagram about 4 years ago to document my own self-acceptance and body confidence journey. One of the most common troll comments I receive is that I'm promoting obesity. So many people seem to feel entitled to a fat person's personal business and are quick to judge them. When people are berating me online and telling me I'm gonna die by the time I'm 30, it is not inspiring. Will and I are soulmates. He is the love of my life.
I think body positivity is good, but people online have made rude comments to Lexi just because she's fat. It's painful to watch. I respect her tenacity, her fight, and her vigor through it all.
I hope that people can just see me loving myself the way that I am and feel inspired to love themselves the same way.
Lexi, Will, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
What's your definition of body positivity?
My definition of body positivity is pretty simple. It's self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance, regardless of whether you're as healthy as you'd like to be, or whether you love how you look, or maybe sometimes you don't. It's the belief that no matter how you feel in that moment, you know that you are deserving of good things and respect and dignity.
Okay, how many of you, just by a show of hands, would support what she's just saying with her definition? Okay, how many of you would say, I got a problem with that? Okay, a couple of wafflers. Okay, I'm raising my hand because I got a problem with that.
All right.
Do you define it pretty much the same way?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. then I got a problem with both of you two. So you're in
We
trouble.
can work it out,
Yeah,
I think.
I bet. Now, here's my problem. See, I think we, in this society, I think we have always confused body image with self-image. I think they vary together and should not. We have a good body image, our self-image goes up. We have a poor body image, then our self-image tends to go down. That shouldn't be the way it is. Would you agree?
I agree that how you view your body shouldn't be the only thing that makes you feel good about yourself. That's what I think body positivity helps with. If you start to change how you see yourself, if you start to approach your body image with a sense of compassion and tenderness, then you start to see yourself in a more gentle light rather than like a harsh criticism. And so when you are feeling negatively about your body, instead of it making you feel negatively about yourself altogether, you can say, I feel negatively about my body today, but I'm going to show myself kindness and compassion, and I'm just going to say, you're doing your best, and tomorrow's a new day. And then that way you kind of lift up your entire self-image.
See, you're contradicting yourself then. You're saying, I don't like my body image, I'm just accepting it, and I'll do better tomorrow. And I don't, see, to me, this body positivity says we're not going to focus on body image, we're going to focus on the person inside, but it seems to be totally focusing on body image. What about the health issues? I think most of the critics about this focus on the fact that by seeming to celebrate the body, not your worth, not your value, but to celebrate the body, you're ignoring the health risks.
The whole point of fat acceptance, body positivity, body neutrality even, is destigmatizing the fat-phobic, toxic diet culture, beauty standards, all of these expectations that are put onto people to look a certain way or to avoid looking a certain way. It's destigmatizing having a specific body image, destigmatizing fatness, and it's putting an individual's personal experience and their personal journey to the forefront. Because fat people get lumped into this stereotype where people assume a lot about their habits and their lifestyle and their past. And body positivity, part of that is saying, I am not a stereotype. I am my own individual person.
What do you think?
I think that if you're concerned about someone else's health issues and you're not that someone else, then you don't really have a dog in that fight. If you look at the way that fat people are treated, if you look at my experience and her experience and the other experiences of fat people, I can't say that I've ever seen someone who says that they're concerned about my health actually treat me like they're concerned about it.
And if I might jump in, I think what it really boils down to is that you cannot, medical professional or not, you cannot tell someone's genetics, someone's habits, someone's health, simply by looking at them. That's impossible. And unless you are their doctor, their health is really none of your business. However, our society has really adopted this idea that if a person is fat, they're automatically unhealthy or at risk of becoming unhealthy very soon, and that it's somehow a moral failure and a personal failure, and that people who are thin somehow have this moral high ground and have some authority to say whether that fat person is healthy or not.
Okay. All right, well, I have to take a break. We're going to meet a man who said he was once a huge believer in the body positive movement, but it almost killed him when we come back. And you've had people say traitor, you know,
Yeah.
that you've quit
Yeah.
on them, right?
Because you're fat, you have people that are attacking you. I get it. I was there. I know.
Meet the curvy surfer girls. These full-figured women are changing the face of surfing, showing they can hang 10 just like anyone else.
For years, we've never seen our body types represented in larger surf culture, and I wanted to do something to change that. And so now we're owning our body and we're getting rid of that shame.
Well, today we're talking about the issue of whether or not the body positivity movement, the belief system which embraces bodies of all shapes and sizes, has gone too far. Now, this has been a highly debated issue since, as of 2020, 36.5% of Americans are considered overweight and 32.5% are considered obese. You had a comment.
I see this sometimes showing up as the imposter syndrome. A lot of times people want you to accept what they don't truly accept in themselves. Body image is very important. We all need to love who we are, accept who we are. As an African-American woman growing up, I didn't see a lot of dolls that looked like me. So body image and accepting fat and not fat shaming, that's very important. But we also need to look at the totality of the individuals that are promoting these things too. They're entertainers. They are people influencers. They are to incite. They are to motivate. So you have to take that into consideration as well as the health.
Well, but you do have to deal with the hand you're dealt, right? I mean, I don't see a lot of people going out and rubbing Nair or whatever on the top of their head to get bald either.
Right.
But I mean, it is what it is. I got to deal with it. You know, I'm bald. That's the truth. My next guest, John, says he also believed in the body positivity movement until it almost killed him. Take a look at this.
At 20 years old, I was at my heaviest weight of 360 pounds. I was really afraid that I was going to, die really, really soon. I decided that I wanted to change my life. I have lost about 180 pounds overall, and I've been able to keep that weight off for about 10 years now. I actually started to document my journey on Instagram as well as YouTube. I want to make it very clear. It was rough. It was rough. I also don't believe that losing weight is obviously a bad thing and that you should be shunned for it or made fun of, or in my case, I'm called fat phobic because I've lost weight. I've been called an ex-fat because I've lost weight. I have had a lot of people be very angry at me because I advocate for others that want to lose weight. Ideal beauty standard, no. I am here to say, if you do want to lose weight, I believe in you. I believe you can do it. It is very hard, but it's worthwhile, and me losing the weight has been one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life.
Well, John, welcome.
Yeah,
you
thanks for
worked
having
really
me.
hard to lose weight, right?
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, yeah.
How much did you lose total?
180 pounds.
That's a whole other person.
Yeah.
Right? And so, do you consider yourself healthier?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself healthier, yeah.
There are people that have done what you've done, lost weight. There are celebrities that have done it, Adele, Rebel Wilson, Jonah Hill, that get criticized for losing weight. And you've had people say traitor, that you've quit on them, right?
With weight loss, I think a lot of people see it as, like they were talking about, some sort of moral success, right? And I can understand how you guys feel, being, just feeling like because you're fat, you have people that are attacking you regardless of what you believe, regardless. I get it. I was there. I know what it's like. And so I think you guys are doing a great job, by the way. But I have dealt with that. I have dealt with people upset with me, upset with my name on Instagram, Obese the Beast. And it's frustrating because at the end of the day, what I care about and what I preach is I want people to be happy and I want people to be healthy. And if someone wants to lose weight, if someone wants to go down that path, I think they should be, hopefully do it in a healthy way, but they should have ways to do that and not be made to feel bad about wanting to do that. Because for me, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Yeah. It completely changed my life. And I want people to have that option and feel supported when they are going down that road.
You said people can't just look at somebody skinny, big, and just tell just from looking at them how healthy you are. That's absolutely true. But we do know, based on science, that if you're overweight, that you're at risk for diseases that you're not as at risk for if you're at a lesser weight.
The research that shows the evidence that you're referencing is biased and outdated. There's some more recent research and studies that show quite the opposite, that people of a higher weight are more likely to survive traumatic surgeries, that they're more likely to survive heart attacks rather than their thin counterparts suffering the same ailments. And I know that you must not have read what I have read, or else you would feel differently.
Wow. Can a person actually be both fat and fit? We're going to meet a doctor and a nutritionist, I'm pretty sure they're up on the data, who will help answer that question we've been debating today right after the break.
Sometimes the CAT scan table wouldn't be able to support their weight. We couldn't actually move the bed into the scanner.
Now, please welcome alternative medicine specialist Dr. Howard Leibowitz, who practiced emergency and trauma medicine for over 25 years. Welcome, Dr. Howard Leibowitz. Full disclosure, we're friends. We've known each other for a long time. It's good to see you again, Doc. If you get somebody in that has a problem that presents, just before we get to the actual chemistries involved, sometimes it's hard to get them into a scanner, correct?
We actually had studies done on this, and there was increased morbidity and complications in all sorts of procedures and treatments for patients who were obese. Sometimes the CAT scan table wouldn't be able to support their weight. The gear wheels wouldn't move. We couldn't actually move the bed into the scanner. And then doing procedures, trying to get IV access. God forbid there's a cardiac arrest. It's working on these patients, very large, very, very heavy patients, had its own set of difficulties and complications that made their end results not as favorable.
There's a longitudinal study that from Oxford University that indicates that obese patients, 50 pounds, for example, it on average takes 3 years off of their lifespan. Morbidly obese people, category 3, 100 pounds or more, can take as much as 10 years off of their lifespan.
It's actually comparable to smoking.
I personally used to live in a smaller body, and I was very unhealthy. I had really bad blood tests. I was vitamin deficient. I was losing my hair. My nails were chipping. My skin was dry. I was very,
but you have
I was
an
very
eating
unhealthy.
disorder, right?
Sure, but
you
I
were
was
anorexic and bulimic. That can kill you.
My point is that when I'm talking about fat positivity, and when I'm talking about not being able to look at someone and instantly know their medical history, this is what I'm talking about. You don't know if the 400-pound person you're looking at used to be 500 pounds. You don't know if the 290-pound person you're looking at before you used to have an eating disorder and is now so much healthier than before.
Would you agree that being obese or being morbidly obese puts you at risk for diseases at a higher level than if you were at a lesser weight and everything else was constant?
I would disagree with you. From my personal experience and from what I know working in the body positivity movement for the past few years and hearing other people's accounts.
So you would reject the science based on
I am not
anecdotal?
rejecting science.
Because
I am
the
challenging
science,
what
the current
you believe.
science says that you are 7 times higher risk for diabetes, certain kinds of cancer, sleep apnea, 6 times higher for high blood pressure, 4 times higher for arthritis, 3 times higher for asthma, that you're higher risk for high cholesterol, inflammation, coronary artery disease, and if you have high blood pressure, you're 200 to 300% more at risk for a stroke.
I have none of those issues. I have no indicators of those issues being anywhere on the horizon. I am perfectly healthy. Even if I weren't, I'm obviously still entitled to dignity and respect, which is my main pillar of belief and what I talk about most often. Despite what you believe the science to reflect, you are very obviously rejecting the truth, which is that there is science that opposes that belief. There are so many scientists and so many doctors who are middle-aged white men. And my body is very different.
Thank you.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Thank you for calling me middle-aged. Very
You're
sweet
welcome.
of you.
And I just want to say, because I've been overweight myself, and I know what it's like to be mistreated, but I think what you're saying about the science is very, very dangerous.
Since I'm a middle-aged, thank you, white guy that doesn't apparently know how to read current research, I would like to talk to a female. I'd like to welcome nutritionist and CEO and owner of ProFit, Kelsey Kaler. Kelsey, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Weigh in on this.
Data is really what matters. And I run lab tests on my clients, so everybody does blood tests, I do stool testing, and fat is an organ, and it influences inflammation, it influences your hormones, and it puts stress on your organs, and eventually those organs begin to fail. And I've seen that over and over on lab testing, and so it's something that we have data to prove. Also, being obese is putting you at risk for all-cause mortality, which is cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and just organ failures, like even the gallbladder is included in that too.
Not to mention orthopedic problems, which are huge.
What are some of your favorite studies that you've read that aim to research people who are, as you say, obese, so people who are overweight, who don't have organ failure, who don't have orthopedic issues? What are some of your favorite studies and research that you've read exploring healthy fat people?
Well, nothing in medicine's 100%.
Sure.
So you're going to look at data and you're going to look at percentages. And when you look at people who are 40, 50 more pounds overweight, the statistics tends to indicate, and this is very well documented, that they run more problems. It doesn't mean that everybody who's overweight is going to have these problems, but the risk is much greater than a person who is at ideal BMI.
What
or
body
healthy
fat
BMI.
is inflammatory. So regardless of how much you have, it is increasing inflammation. And inflammation is the root cause of all disease, regardless of what it is. And so it's important to look at the data in regards to that and really look at, okay, are you insulin resistant? Because insulin resistance can lead to dementia. They're calling dementia type 3 diabetes. And if you're insulin resistant now, then you're setting yourself up for things like dementia in the future too.
Well, let me add Cameron to this as well, because Cameron, you're a science and health journalist and have been for 10 years. Does the literature that you review, the science that you review, suggest that being obese and morbidly obese put patients at higher risks for health complications or not?
100%, 100%. And I just want to say, because I've been overweight myself, I have a lot of respect for you guys, and I know what it's like to be mistreated, but I think what you're saying about the science is very, very dangerous. And just to give one example, New England Journal of Medicine, 2017, they tracked 4 million deaths. 60% of them were in obese people. And there's been research done that shows that the bigger you get, the greater your risk for heart disease, for stroke, for diabetes. And the fancy $5 phrase is a dose-response relationship. So the bigger you are, the bigger your risk. So this has been very thoroughly documented, like the doctor said. And people should love themselves, they should respect themselves, but they should not carry that into the science to where they're denying the risk. That's very, very dangerous.
And I've also, though, seen documentation that weight-related discrimination and marginalization in society can lead to almost all of the things that science has thought that weight itself was leading to. And so then that opens a conversation of, what actually is the motivating factor behind those trends that we're seeing when we do see them? And we also have a huge problem in this country with scientific literacy, which you know, being a science journalist. And so what I think happens when, when people go through all of the training, like Dr. Phil, you must have spent at least 5 or 6 years at the University of North Texas getting your master's and your PhD. And so one thing that I'm sure that you learned when you were there, and that a lot of people unfortunately don't learn through like the American schooling system, is that a study is a study. And scientists know the impact of what one study means. But you really do have to look at how is the data collected, and who was studied, and how long were they studied, and then were they studied in the same way the initial time and the follow-up time? And
well, let me address that if I can.
Sure.
So you have studies from universities all over the world, different populations, different study designs, different lengths of time, and they all will consistently show that being obese is a very serious health risk. Now, you can take a snapshot of someone who's overweight in time, and you can say, hey, they're disease-free, they're not pre-diabetic, whatever particular condition you're looking at. And that's true, but we have to look at trends. And statistically speaking, being overweight, being obese is dangerous.
It means something to me. My entire family has been morbidly obese, and I've buried them all in their 40s and 50s. You're right. You can't take an isolated study. And you're right, I did spend years there getting a master's and a PhD, and the master's was in clinical research and design. So I do understand how to put together studies, and I do understand that the size of the study matters, and you can really get a non-representative sample no matter how big it is.
Well, and I wasn't being facetious when I brought that up. I thought you would have some knowledge into that.
Yeah. I do. And you have to look at the trends, as Cameron is saying, which is why I've got 7 pages here of studies that I brought, because we did a meta-analysis of all of the data so we could see what the field of literature in general talked about. And there are studies in here that looks at health at every size, which says you should separate health and weight altogether. Intentional weight loss, like dieting, is normally not long-term and can damage your health rather than help your health. But then there's a study by LaSalle et al. In 2017 that says even those with normal blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol levels had a 28% increase in heart disease when they were overweight. Being obese and active is healthier than being sedentary at what's considered a normal BMI. I agreed with you on that point. I think your self-image is one thing and your body image is different. And I think you obviously have a good and confident self-image. You're standing up for yourself. You're speaking up for yourself. You're expressing yourself really well. I don't agree with all of your points, but you obviously have confidence and a great self-image, and I think you should, no matter what you weigh. I think that's what I mean when I say it's conflating two issues. You should be proud of yourself. You're obviously intelligent, attractive, and energetic, and you two are obviously have a good relationship and are well bonded. There's so much that's positive. My issue is if somebody that is overweight is out telling people this is not a high-risk situation. And I say that because of the science, and it means something to me because I've buried a nephew that was morbidly obese at 50. I've buried a nephew that was morbidly obese in his 40s. I've buried 2 aunts that were morbidly obese in their 40s. My entire family has been morbidly obese, and I've buried them all in their 40s and 50s. And I think it is dangerous for people to be out there saying this is not an at-risk condition, and I do not endorse it. Now, a late-night host says that body positivity is a national security issue. What the hell's he talking about? We'll find out after the break, and then I'll come back to you. We'll be right back, and I'll come to you. Late night talk show host Bill Maher told his viewers on Friday, August 5th, 2022, that fat acceptance is now a national security issue because obesity is driving down military recruitment.
There's a disturbing trend going on in America these days, rewriting science to fit ideology or just to fit what you want reality to be. We've gone from fat acceptance to fat celebration. Now the term body positivity is used to mean I'm perfect the way I am because I'm me. It's Orwellian how often positivity is used to describe what's not healthy. Healthy at any weight is an unchallenged lie. It's literally a national security issue now. Military recruitment is down by the most since the end of the draft because mainly 17 to 24-year-olds are too fat to fight. At some point, acceptance becomes enabling.
You wanted to say something?
My comment is to the young lady. I wish when I was as young as her, I had paid attention to the dangers. I'm the poster child of everything that can go bad because of weight. I'm going to have open heart surgery on October 10th. I had a heart attack. I have diabetes, high blood pressure, no cartilage on both legs. I need 2 knee replacements. And health is important. And overweight is linked to more health issues.
There's no question about it. You wanted to say?
Yeah, so it's clear that all the numbers that all these studies people are bringing up, more people are becoming overweight, obese. That's clearly happening. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, right? I think it's important to look at, is that really an issue? And if that is an issue, what can we do to solve it? Not what can the fat people do to stop being fat, right? It's more about what can we do as a nation, as a community, what can we do to help people? I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because I dealt with people constantly telling me I was fat. Guess who doesn't need to be told they're fat? A fat person. I'm telling you right now, I knew, right? And so it was so frustrating to me to have people make fun of you, call you names, say, oh, you're gonna die soon, yada, yada, yada. I knew, right? I knew what was going on. That didn't change the fact that I felt like I couldn't lose the weight. I felt like it was impossible for me. And so what I try and do as just a dude is I try and show people I was able to lose the weight. And if you want to, you can.
Your life is yours to live, and you're going to make the choices. I'm just saying, deal with reality. Deal with reality. I'm a big one for science. If anything that I've said today, it won't withstand challenge, throw it out. Fact check everything I've said. And if I'm wrong and obesity doesn't put you at higher risk for diseases, throw it out. Don't listen to me. Fact check me. Do these things for yourself, but deal with reality. And I want to be sure you understand that I don't conflate issues. And self-image and body image, I don't put those together. One is at risk for your health, and I care about people and want them to live as long and healthy as they can. You as people, as individuals, I've enjoyed having you here. You've been great for this conversation and debate. You've been very nice, very pleasant. And if we talk about this some more, I hope you'll come back and contribute to the conversation again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
I hope you're glad you came. I've tried to treat you with dignity and respect because I do respect both of you, and I hope you'll come back.
We respect you so much. Thank you.